Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't buy the Canon M50 in 2020. And that's coming up next. Before I get started, I just want to remind everyone, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification if you like this type of video. Also, if you like this specific video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Now, for anyone who's followed my channel for any length of time, you know that the primary camera that I use is the Canon M50. I switched to it about a year ago, and I was using the Panasonic G7 prior. Now, if I could go back and tell my past self what my future self knows about the Canon M50, I'd absolutely tell myself not to purchase this camera. The first thing I want to talk about is software or lack thereof. Since this camera's been out, Canon's only really done two major updates to the camera's firmware, neither of which fixed some of the issues the camera was having. It's gotten to the point where it almost feels like the M50 has been abandoned by Canon in favor of some of the other products that they've put out since then. A lot of us were really hoping that some of the firmwares would fix some of the things like the stabilization in 4K, which I'm going to touch on later in the video, or any other small fixes like that. They just haven't really come through with it. I believe both of the firmware updates were security type updates that didn't really have any major impact on the camera. The next thing I want to go to is price point. Now, this camera still retails for about $650 to $700 depending on where you look. You can find it on sale for $599 sometimes, or even used for anywhere between $400 and $600. Now, at the retail price of $650, I don't think it's worth it. There are other cameras in the market within a few $100s of this unit that do far better. The Canon M6 Mark II is just a prime example. It's also the camera that I just switched to and what I'm currently filming this video on now. For the price, the camera is pretty dated already after only being out for 2 years. And if you're going to spend this kind of money on a camera, you want to at least make sure that you're going to get your money's worth. And buying this camera 2 years after it's been out at still $650, I don't think is a great value or the best bang for your buck. Now, your next reason why you shouldn't buy the Canon M50 in 2020 is the lack of overall lenses for this camera system. Now, while I just said I upgraded to the Canon M6, I also have a lot of lenses that I use for this camera already, so it made more sense for me to stay in the ecosystem. For someone who's not in the M frame ecosystem yet, you might be better off going with a different Canon camera or even something outside of Canon. That way you can start fresh on an ecosystem where you're going to get a lot of lenses. It doesn't look like Canon's planning on doing a lot in the way of M lenses so far. Sigma actually just probably put out 3 of the better lenses for this camera, and I haven't seen anything really from the other companies in terms of M lenses. Now, as always, you can use the EF adapter and use Canon's EF lenses, but there's not even a lot of those coming out new. It seems like Canon's moving forward going to be focusing on the R system, and a lot of your new lenses coming out are going to be for that system, and probably not so much for the M series cameras. Now, the fourth thing that I'm going to talk about also leads into the fifth, but we'll start with this one first. The crop factor in 4K on this camera is absolutely egregious. When you go into 4K, you lose a lot of your sensor on this specific unit, which is typical on the APS-C sensors. Unless you get much farther back from what you're trying to shoot, you're going to really have to plan your shot in advance when you want to use the 4K. That goes for if you're just out and about doing cinematic shots, or if you're doing some form of B-roll. You have to always be mindful that you're going to have to get back farther than what you're shooting to try to get more of it in the picture because of the crop. And then the fifth reason, which is going to lead over from this last one, is 4K shooting in general. One of the biggest selling points of this camera was the dual pixel stabilization, which works amazing in 1080p. However, it doesn't really work in 4K. When trying to use this camera in 4K, your autofocus is all over the place and makes 4K almost unusable. That seems to be what most people across the internet and YouTube have kind of come to the conclusion of, is that this is a great 1080p camera. The 4K is absolutely horrendous on it because of the autofocus and the crop combined together, which unfortunately, when you're investing into a mirrorless 4K camera that you can't really use the 4K well on, it makes that not a good investment. Now, I'm sure there's some things that I'm missing, but these are the 5 things that stood out to me the most about this camera that makes it not a good value in 2020. Again, before you buy this camera, I hope you have seen this video, do some research out there and see what else you can get in the price range of anywhere from $650 up to about $1,000. It may be a little bit more to get a better camera, but it's one of those things that will give you far more value long term, even if it means going without a camera for maybe another month or 2 while you save up. Now, if you still want to go into the M line of cameras, I would say skip the M50 and go with the M6 Mark II. The autofocus in 4K on this camera is absolutely stunning and works even better than the autofocus in 1080p on the M50, but I'm going to save that for another video down the road. All right, guys, as always, if you have any questions, please post them down in the comment section below. I love seeing questions from you guys and answering. If there's any content you would like to see me possibly do in the future, maybe some camera gadgets, lighting, anything camera or video equipment related, please let me know down in the comments section. I'd love to look them up and see if it's something that I can get for the channel that we can review for you guys. Once again, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And that's it. Until next time.